Because I work quite a lot around developing human leadership, when I talk about my experience and my background, I absolutely can talk about the roles I've had, the jobs I've had. But I think the most important thing is what drives us. And what drives me is just this absolute view that people are amazing. And I've seen people at their most amazing. And I don't know about anyone else, but I've also had moments where I felt really amazing. We don't always sit in that all of the time. I know I don't. But it's really interesting to then be a student of what does it take? What's the psychology? What's the sociology? What's the human behavior? What's actually happening in terms of the conditions around people to really create that sense of, I'm absolutely in my sweet spot. And in a sweet spot, we're creative, we're productive, we're absolutely at our best. But we're also able to collaborate at our best as well and get the best out of other people. So I'm a student of that. I suppose that would be the first thing to say. And as a student of that, my career, sort of inevitably, where would you go? Where do you go as a person straight out of university business school to pursue a career where you can be involved in that? Well, I could have gone into psychology, sociology, that sort of side of things, but I mean, I absolutely loved business and I absolutely loved the concept of organizations creating a contribution to our world and impact. So I went into HR. And do you know, it's so interesting because so much of how we view HR is this kind of idea that we're sort of, the people police or the, transactional side of the business. I've never really viewed my job as that at all. And yet those things have to be in place. It's almost like if you think of a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you could think of a human hierarchy of needs in an organization. Some of that activity that the HR function create, absolutely has to happen. Otherwise, we can't do the deeper work for people because they don't feel safe or sense of belonging or the other things that they require. So everything that I do in my career, I've walked through roles. I had a 18-year career with Ford Motor Company, absolutely worked across all parts of that business, from manufacturing plants all the way through to working with the top executives in the US. I'm based in the UK, but I lived and worked in the States for 3 years. And I've worked with lots of different cultures as well, and lots of different functions in organisations, from engineering through to IT, through to marketing and sales. So I had a really broad upbringing, if you like, in this studying, I suppose I've been involved in terms of human behaviour. I then moved into the civil service. I worked in the Home Office. I was Chief People Officer in the UK Home Office. It's an organisation which at the time was 30,000 people, so really, really big system, really complicated organisation. From operational to policy, that we're trying to deliver, lots of different stakeholders. And a really interesting set of every kind of skill set that you can imagine. And so I was part of the executive team there. So I've had my own experience growing my own executive career at the same time as, um, building my professional capability as a people professional. And then I moved into a FTSE 250 high growth organization, global organization. They did amazing things providing the technical talent of the future and repurposing, people who might have had previous careers as returners or veterans, but developing skill sets for the future and working with clients in terms of their strategic workforce planning and how they fill skills gaps. So over the course of that career, I think I've probably achieved three different things. One is, absolutely the pragmatic nature of what we need to get done in order for systems to operate and work. It doesn't get done through ideas and concepts, it gets done through the practical ways in which we implement programs, implement projects, make changes, and so on. I've also been able to really study my own journey and other people's journeys into effective leadership of humans. And it is a journey I'm still on, but I find it absolutely fascinating. And then the third thing that I suppose I've had the privilege and opportunity to do is levels in organisations. So I've grown through, starting out, as a graduate in an organisation and growing through to the executive levels of an organisation. What is different in terms of operating, how you manage time? But I've also worked with, everyone from executives through to people working, shop floor manufacturing roles. So what I've learned from that, and I continue to be really interested in growing and learning, is just this wider systemic understanding of how it all fits together.